Welcome, one and all, to the fantasy draft of Survivor Analytics for the biggest, the best, the grandest season of Survivor ever. Survivor 50 in the hands of the fans. It's the biggest season we've ever covered. And of course, that means we have the biggest teams of fantasy. Very exciting stuff. We are going to have one little tweak here. Because there are returning players, we have a returning player clause in this draft. As people go for their first round, they will announce who their returning player is that they've selected. The requirement there is that it has to be somebody that they previously picked, right? So you will announce it, but because of the way our draft software works, you won't actually get to draft them until the end. I don't know if that matters for audio. Anyway, I'm the voice of the people. I forgot to say that. My name's Jack. With me, as always, the true expert Clyde. And with us, as always, once a season, the rest of the fantasy gang, starting with our season 49 winner, who will now announce the draft order. Take it away, Alexis.
Okay, so the draft order this time, first is going to be Clyde. Finally going to give him well, I've given him first place spot before, but I'm giving him another chance in first place. So
it's an honor. I appreciate it. I've been putting in the social work.
He has. Second, I'm going to put myself because I like to go second. Third, so I started putting people in spots that they haven't been before. Tony and Olivia have been everywhere. So Tony and Olivia are third. Did they do okay last time they were third? I don't know.
No, we do know. They didn't.
Fourth is going to be Kerry. Fifth is Jack. And sixth is Abbey. So all of you are in brand new placements.
Sounds good. So we can start with the inheritance picks. Like Jack mentioned, these are the people that we've taken in the past. 5 of the 6 teams here have an inheritance pick to make. That one team, being Tony and Olivia, have not drafted someone that qualified for the inheritance, which really is more of a fault of production than the team of Tony and Olivia. It's more so that Jeff is out to get them, like their contestants are every season. So we'll
especially
through,
considering we've had legendary picks like David Jelinski and Hannah Rose, Kane.
But we have also had Jam Jam
and Shannon.
Yeah.
And Shannon.
Jeff's out to get us.
We'll be going through the inheritance picks. Before each person goes, they can list off who they had the options of taking. I had 3 people to select from here. I'm pulling them up on my phone right now because I remember 2 of them off the top of my head and I forgot the third. I already know who I'm selecting between the 3. But my 3 options are Emily from Survivor 45, Tiffany from Survivor 46, and RIZ, GOD, RizGod Baby from Survivor 49. And this is a difficult choice because everything in my being is telling me I have to take RizGod. I had so much fun with him on my team throughout 49, but I've actually done some of my homework beforehand. I've been watching all the preseason press just so I can make content on it leading up to the season. And it sounds like a lot of people are out to get the 49ers. There's this overarching fear of the unknown. You have these contestants who are competing immediately after their original season. The other players don't necessarily know what to expect with them. And there's a looming legacy of Russell Hantz in Heroes versus Villains, someone that went on to that season with no reputation and was able to use that to his advantage. So logically, it doesn't make sense for me to take Rizzo here. But then I looked at the names of the fantasy teams, and Jack named his team. What is it? It's RizGod Coveters.
Yeah, I was certain that somebody would take Rizzo first off and that they were protected, that he was protected. And so I figured I'd just name my team the RizGod Coveters.
And that's enough, at least for me. So I'm doing it again. My inheritance pick, RIZ, GOD, RizGod, baby. He could be the first boot of this season. It's definitely in the cards. The people on his tribe are pretty sketched out by him. But I think he was one of the better strategic players that we've seen in the new era. He was aggressive with his idol throughout that entire season. And even if he goes out early and I lose him in the pre-merge and my heart breaks and I'm sitting there in front of my TV crying, he'll get some good content, some good character moments to earn me some fantasy points along the way. And when I watched this preseason press, I think he has the best knowledge of the surrounding cast out of anyone else here. He was like listing specific votes from random seasons. He knows how his competition is going to play. So assuming that they give him a chance to give him a little bit of leeway, I think he could take advantage and actually make a run. So Rizgod is my inheritance pick. What do you guys think? Was that the right move from me, or should I have looked at Tiffany or Emily?
Let me say this, because I am seething with jealousy that you have RIZGOD Rizgod Baby, the greatest, the man, the myth, the legend. They had 2 weeks between 49 and 50. That's not much time to recover. So for both Rizgod and Savannah, I wonder how that's going to play in. Everyone else on this game had the chance to like carb load for a long time to get their weight up a little bit. I think it was Dee who said she gained 10 pounds and just ate a ton of chicken tenders. Shout out to Tony and Olivia's dog, Sophie. And so I do worry that these two are both in jeopardy because of that.
Yeah, I don't know if it's the right pick, but it's what I expected you to do. So I'm not surprised at all. I think your bond with Rizgod is just that strong and you have to follow your heart.
So that's your inheritance pick. Are you also going to do your first pick, or are we going to do inheritance picks and then first?
We'll do
picks?
the inheritance, then we come back to me for the actual first pick. I don't need the spotlight. All I need is Rizzo. Who's up next?
Alexis.
Okay, so my choices were Savannah and Charlie. And I feel like I don't even have to say that much because I have the same reasons as Clyde, and I am picking Charlie. I don't know if it would have been different if Savannah didn't win and then also is coming back to back, because I do think she played a really good game. But I think Charlie will play a good game. I think that he seems to be like ready to change his game up a bit, which I think will benefit him. So yeah, happy to have Charlie.
I feel like a lot of people were like so one way or the other with Charlie, like even like just watching them and listening to some interviews, like people were either like, oh yeah, I really want to work with him, or like, oh my God, he's the biggest threat. Like even as a non-winner, I think like Rick Devens, who I've actually never seen play, he's like one of 2 or 3 people on this cast I've never seen play. But he was like, in my mind, Charlie's a winner. Sorry, Maria and Kenzie. Like he just like had that game. But I really liked him, but I think he's like a very big threat in the eyes of the others. On the other hand, you have Savannah, same thing. So you just pick really good people.
Alexis is definitely the biggest threat, I think, in this draft. Because Alexis, how many wins do you have? 3?
3.
Out of 5? 6?
So it was 6, including like 44 through 49. So you won half of them.
Yeah. The biggest threat by far.
Yeah, I think you made the right pick, though. Like, the 49 bias is one factor, but the combination of the 49 bias and being a winner is just a lot for Savannah to overcome. Like, my prediction right now is that she's the first boot from her tribe. And at least Charlie has some people he can lean on. The first name that comes to mind for me is Coach. Charlie is very close with Ben Katzman from his season. They went to the Final 3 together, and Ben and Coach are in a band together. So I feel like Charlie has a built-in ally on his tribe from the very beginning, and he has all, the positive attributes of any other great Survivor player. I don't think he's necessarily amazing in any one particular facet. He's not as strong as Jonathan. He's not as great socially as Suri. He's not as witty strategically as like a D, but he's above average in every single skill set, and I think that'll take him far.
I say
No, go ahead.
thing about him was that him and Tiffany are on the same tribe, even though they played the same season. And that's kind of like the only instance, I think, where it's not a multi-season person. So I just think that might be an interesting dynamic too.
Can I throw out a theory about Savannah and Rizzo? I bet they go fairly quickly, but they get a lot of screen time in the first 2 or 3 episodes. They're going to be the like transitional characters so that everyone who came in from 49 and is here to just keep watching Survivor and, might not know who Coach is, me. You get that little transitional period and you go, oh, I know these people. They just played 6 months ago and now they're gone. So I think Savannah and Rizzo are going to be gone quick. And I think Charlie will do well.
Is there a possibility, are they allowed to not say that Savannah won? Like, could she just start telling everyone that Rizgod won, for example, or do they know?
I think she mentioned that people are so suspect that she won that she doesn't feel like she can lie. I think that if things were different, if she were the only one from that season, she might have been able to pull off lying.
But in theory, you could.
In theory, you could, yeah.
Oh.
It's a really difficult lie to tell. With Rizzo there, and each tribe has one winner on it, I feel like just naturally everyone's going to assume that about Savannah. I think she intends on telling them all, too. Okay, who's third pick?
Tony and Olivia.
Yeah, is there anything you want to say in regards to the inheritance pick?
Oh, right.
We've said all we needed to say. I'm just upset Jelinski's not on the season.
I think that we are going to have a lot of fun, and that's what matters most. And also, I will say I think our best season was when Alexis put us in last, so we participated the least. And so if that's any indication, this might be our year.
Who's fourth, Kerry?
So my options are Joe and Genevieve. And I feel like I'm in like a head versus heart situation. I feel like Joe is pretty well positioned to be successful on this season. I think he played a very like loyal game. I think people like that in an ally. Although he is like part of one of the trios of the season. He's there with Kyle and Camilla from his season. So that could either be good or bad. I think out of those three, I don't see him as the main target. I think they would go for Kyle and or Camilla first. However, I am going to pick Genevieve. I can't not pick my girl. I think people kind of do see her as a very like strategic threat. When she played last time, she was a little bit cutthroat. But I watched a lot of her press in particular because I like her and I knew I would have her. And she kind of emphasized trying to build relationships more so this time around. So I'm interested to see if she could do that. I am scared about her starting tribe. I think they're going to be the messiest, but I don't think she'll be the biggest target there.
I know we talked about some of the alliances going into the season. I think one thing that might actually play out in Genevieve's favor is that there's no one else on this cast from 47. And some people might look at that and say, oh, you're an easy target because you have no pre-established connections. That might help her in a weird way in that she's not an immediate threat. There's other people on that tribe that have clear connections to other players on this cast. So I could see a world where Genevieve flies under the radar on, I think she's on the Vatu tribe as the purple one. And there's a couple other like strategically oriented people there who I could see working with Genevieve. Players like a Kyle, like a Rizzo. I don't necessarily see her getting along with the likes of Q or Stephanie, but she doesn't need to get along with everyone on this cast. I think that there's a real chance that the new era people take over that tribe with Genevieve at the helm and hopefully Rizzo by her side, but I'm biased.
I'm so happy Genevieve is back.
All right. Am I up? With my pick, I believe I only have one option, and that option is Camilla. Camilla is my choice in the sense that I had no other choice. My one point here is that in this graphic, there's these little bios that are kind of weird, right? And I thought this was an official graphic, but I'm not sure because Dee's says sole survivor, originally from Cuba, big toes. Camilla's says she's from Foster City, California, but that she's Canadian. I need to look that up to verify that, but I don't think that's true. Anyway, I liked Camilla a lot back in 48. It's great to have her back. Something that Clyde and I talked about on the preview sort of interlude episode we did a couple weeks ago was that having Camilla and Kyle on this season is going to be very interesting because their entire game was built around each other. We'll see what she can do without him, but with him lurking on another tribe, right? Because he's a winner. He's going to have a little bit more of a target. I don't know what she's going to do, but I'm excited to see what happens.
So she's from Canada, but she currently lives in California.
Man, I do think she outlasts Kyle. Yeah, because looking at Kyle's tribe, he's the only winner. And I feel like either Kyle makes an alliance with like Q and Colby, who I don't know anything about Colby, but he seems kind of meat boyish, right? So either there's a very broy alliance or Kyle's gone immediately. That's my take. Point of order on sneaky Canadians. There are so many people from Canada who have moved to other countries for the Winter Olympics that I just learned that recently. And I think that's kind of interesting that Canada is like exporting their talent to other countries. But that's an honorable mention kind of thing. So let's move on. The last pick, Abbey.
Okay, so I have 3 people to choose from. I have D, Kyle, and Q. Q is crazy as fuck. No, thank you. Kyle, I have a lot of doubts about. D, I also have a lot of doubts about because I saw her play on the challenge and she's messier than I thought, which I do love. But again, very hesitant about that. Based on all of that, I'm going with my messy queen, D. I'm happy to see her back. I'm very worried about her threat level. Very worried that she's going to be messy this time and they're actually going to air it. And they didn't air it last time because she was the winner. But, you know, I'm going with D. Her strategy is to chill the F out, but she also said she's going to play like she has nothing to lose. So I don't know how that's going to work out, but I'm here for it.
I respect your pick. I feel like you had such tough options. I just have to say, I'm so excited to have Q back on my television.
I think of the 3 winners, I have the most confidence in D. She's the best player out of those 3. She might walk in with the highest threat level, but I just have a lot of confidence in her overcoming those hurdles. What exactly happened with her on the challenge that makes you describe her as kind of messy? Because I didn't see that season. It seemed like from 45, there were messy components, but she had it all under control for the most part.
Well, she did the one thing I hate, which is hook up with Johnny Bananas. So that automatically is just a no for me. But on the reunion show, she was giving him shit. So that was nice. Like putting him in his place, which no one really does, which was great. So that's why I have faith in D.
Is there someone on her tribe that could fill that role? The Johnny Bananas or Austin role?
Sorry. There's somebody named Johnny Bananas.
Check you're
Unfortunately.
behind. Yeah.
No, there's no one on her tribe that can fill that role. I mean, she's got what? Coach, Charlie, Mike, and Jonathan.
Coach.
Dragon Slayer.
Why is this guy's name Johnny Bananas? I have Googled him.
He went through quite the evolution. He started at the challenge season 13. That's all I have to say.
It's back to me. So it's been a minute since I had the first overall pick. I don't know if you guys remember who I took last time I had the number 1 overall pick, but it was back in Survivor 47. I took Andy, and that was a brutal premiere episode. I was sweating it out that entire time when Andy was breaking down during the challenge. So when I come to make this decision now, one of my core criteria is someone who just won't embarrass me right out of the gate. So I want someone that is a high quality player, but also someone that is not walking onto the season with a major like target on her back. Like personally, I would love to have Suri on my roster just to say that I have Suri on my roster, but there's a very real world, at least in my mind, where she goes out in the pre-merge. If these tribes care more about challenge strength, you know, she's walking in with probably the biggest legacy behind her. I'll talk about Suri more later. She's not my pick here. I've had my pick locked since July. I made a video probably like 8 months ago predicting who I thought would win. And I'm going to roll with Aubrey. I think Aubrey has the best combination of pre-game threat level and pre-game ability. I would say out of this entire cast, I've done a ranking based on who I think is like the best overall Survivor players. I had Aubrey at number 4. But if you look at just in terms of threat levels, she's probably towards the bottom. I know not everyone has seen Aubrey's seasons. Jack doesn't even know who Aubrey is right now. But to just give you a little bit of context, and this is spoilers, but you're not going to remember any of this anyway. Aubrey competes on Survivor Co. Wrong and essentially has a Charlie-esque game, one where she goes all the way deep into the game, and she's widely regarded as someone that is one of the best non-winners of all time. Comes back on Survivor Game Changers, has another deep run, but this time instead of being on the top, she's on the bottom, and she shows an entirely different skill set in her arsenal. Goes all the way, I think, to the final 5 before getting knocked out. But if she made it to the end, she had a great chance of winning that season. But the key performance in Aubrey's resume, at least to me, is her 3rd run on Edge of Extinction, where she gets flat out embarrassed. She's voted out in the pre-merge with an idol in her pocket. And a lot of people say that one game kind of tanked her legacy. And I think that one game will actually do a lot to help her going into 50, because a lot of people might not suspect that she's as great of a player as she actually is. Rick Devens competed with her on Edge of Extinction. So I think people are going to underestimate Aubrey. I think she can play well from the top. I think she can play well from the bottom. She's not the best challenge competitor, so that is something that worries me a bit when you have people like Colby on her tribe. But I made the pick back in like July or August, and I'm all about take integrity. So I got to stick with Aubrey here. So that's my rant on Aubrey. Does anyone have any thoughts, comments on her?
Competed with is the they didn't really compete together. They were just on the same island, but yeah.
You mean with Rick? They were on the edge of extinction together for a bit.
Just duking it out for what was it? Fire tokens, right?
Yeah. Oh man, I can't even think back to that. I'm not an edge of extinction guy at all.
Yeah. But I love Aubrey. I just hope she doesn't get caught up in the trap of wanting to get Q out, because he is just like a vortex of bad moves, basically. I hope she doesn't fall into that. I hope she stays away from him, because they're on the same tribe. They did that on purpose. So I wish her the best of luck.
If Q gets her out, I don't know how I'm going to live that down.
Not to like go down a Q rabbit hole when it's not even his pick, but I feel like everyone who was smack talking him in their pregame interviews is on his starting tribe, and I'm kind of excited to see it. So I think she'll have people to team up with on her starting tribe to unite against Q. So I think she's in a good spot there. I agree. She's probably not seen as the biggest target returning, so I think it's a solid pick.
Can I ask a question for those of you who are truer experts than I? There's a lot of players on this cast who've played a few times, right? They've played in either like mixed seasons or returning player seasons or whatever. My question for you all is, typically on a returning player season, does number of times previously played contribute to threat level?
Are you asking so you know who to draft?
I'm just asking to frame generally, because I want a sense for, like, in my mind, looking at the Sela tribe, where my records show we haven't picked anybody yet. There's a couple players on there, Suri and Ozzy, who've played a lot. Does playing a lot translate to an elevated threat level inherently, or do people tend to forget about past experiences in terms of resume and look more at play style?
I'm going to say go with your gut.
All right. Abby's here to play. Okay.
I'll give you some info. I think it's based on your whole career, not just how many times you've played, because there's some contestants who have played a bunch of times and they haven't done anything with those opportunities. So it's based on your career, but I think players generally have an element of recency bias. I think Tony plays super well on season 40 because he flames out in Game Changers, for example. So I think sometimes having a horrible performance before your returning player season might actually benefit you.
Moving on.
No other thoughts on Aubrey. Alexis, it's all you. Always the second overall pick.
Not always, half the time.
Every other season.
Well, okay. So I'm going to apologize in advance to Abbey specifically. I'm taking Christian. I love him so much, and I want him on my team. And honestly, I think the vibe I'm going for this time is I just want to pick people that I would enjoy if they won, and I would enjoy watching. I do think he's a huge threat, but I think that he'll play well based on all of his like preseason interviews. He talked a lot about like how he's learned from seasons that he's watched since, not even just his own game, but also other seasons, and how he's plans on taking that and incorporating it into the way that he plays. And I think that it's really good when returnees try to change their strategy instead of just saying, yeah, this is how I played and I'm going to play like this again. Specifically for him too, like as a second time returnee, like that reminds me of Parvati when she came in the second time and entirely changed the way that she played. I just think that he's going to do great, and I would like to see him harass Jeff during a challenge again.
He was like the only one on my list. Like I think he's my favorite. I have been dying to have him come back on a returning season. Like he's always been, if you had to pick a player to come back, I wish it was him. I don't even know. Him and Genevieve were the only two on my list, so I have some rethinking to do. Excellent pick.
Christian is the one who got me even remotely into Survivor, because that was the only season I have seen outside of this podcast. And I'm devastated and jealous. Well chosen.
Okay, I see a plot hole in all this. We didn't even get one person yet. You guys have now, two of you have two, and you're the best one ever. I think we got screwed.
I didn't make you last this time. It could have been worse.
Oh, yeah.
Wait, should we let Tony and Olivia pick one of the leftover legacies?
They're going to get the person who is not drafted at the very end.
Yeah, we're kind of
brutal.
devastated. We didn't think further than this.
You wiped our slate clean, Alexis.
Is that why Tony dressed up as his background?
I also feel like he gives me hope in my career. Like his whole bio was acknowledging how hard it is writing for grants and running a lab and all these things I currently think a lot about. And then he has looking forward to him Survivor, and I was like, wow, I can do anything if I watch Christian, but I can still watch him. I just won't get any points. Which was really, really heartbreaking.
Is this your way of saying he would have been the number 1 overall pick if you guys had the first overall?
Yeah, definitely. Like I said, we don't have anyone else on our list.
Tony had a speech prepared. Do you have anything to contribute?
No, the fans are never going to hear my speech, thanks to Alexis.
Man.
It's going to be a good one, I bet. Okay, someone else should talk really quick so we figure out who to pick.
No, take your time because I also have to figure out who to pick now.
I can give you some Christian filler content if you want in the meantime. I like him a lot as a character. He was not that high on my board. I don't see anyone in the game being willing to take Christian to the end. And I think it was the same problem that he faced on David versus Goliath, where everyone loved him, which is great. He has so much win equity because he hangs out with the nerds. He hangs out with the jocks. He has the Brochacho alliance. I forget what were some of the other alliances he had on that season, but he's a very versatile social player, despite coming across as pretty geeky on an initial look. But I think that almost hurts him in a weird way, where by the time you get to Final 7, Final 8, people are going to be looking at Christian and saying, I can't go to the end with this guy. But hey, if there's a season where he does it, 50 is that season, because there's a bunch of people on this cast who kind of fall into that bucket.
So really quick, Vatu means rock or stone. Kalo means spirit or god, which seems a little bit unfair. And Sila means to shine. It's a verb. So Kalo's the god tribe. Tony and Olivia.
All right.
We actually do have an option.
You want me to say it or you?
I can say it. So all I'll say is I'm convinced that this is our inheritance pick, and I don't really care what Clyde's records show. We are picking Jonathan Young from the Kalo/God tribe. Tony, take it away.
Well, as Olivia said, I too was convinced that we had Jonathan on our Survivor team, and you cannot tell us any differently, Clyde, and especially now that we actually do. But
good point.
Even if we didn't maybe have him on our fantasy team, I think we think that because we did enjoy watching him and rooting for him so much. And in particular, I remember one challenge where he single-handedly propelled his team through the challenge, and I think production had to stop the challenge and just let the other team not do part of it because the other team couldn't do it. So I think that will at least buy him a couple of rounds and hopefully some points for us.
I have no thoughts on this because I don't know who he is.
Look up a photo of him, Jack. I think he's your dream Survivor player, to be honest. This is maybe the most prototypical meat boy that we've seen in the last decade of the show. No brains, no strategy.
Holy crap!
Just straight muscle.
I predict that him and Coach might vibe well together in a Zen world on the beach.
I think that's a really fair prediction. I think Jonathan has the cleanest connection to the old school people. Jonathan and Joe are the new era contestants that still play with those ideas of honor and integrity. So if there's a world where the old schoolers take control of the game, Jonathan could be lumped into that mix. And I think he has a free pass to the post-merge. I would be shocked if Jonathan is voted out in the first month of the season. So I think he's a very safe pick. I wouldn't necessarily pick him to win it all, but I think you'll definitely get challenge points from him.
We're not going for that.
All right. I'm seething with jealousy again.
They're playing for third.
Since I know most of these players anyway, or all of them really, but maybe I don't remember everything about all of them. I thought it was funny that my notes this time, I just didn't know what to write because I already know things. And I wrote down he calls Boston Rob Mr. Rob in his interview.
Yeah, I'm excited for him to call Jeff Mr. Jeff again. I actually did like that. I don't like Uncle Jeff, but I like Mr. Jeff.
He is one of the players, too, that no one else is from his season. He's never played with anybody, so that could benefit him, too, in the same way with Genevieve.
His preseason interview came out today, and they asked him about his thoughts about some of the other contestants on the cast. And when Emily Flippin came up, he didn't even know who that is. And he didn't know Tiffany either.
He is the prototypical meat boy. I want this guy. Hey, Tony and Olivia, can we do a trade? I'll give you
Yeah,
Camilla.
let's do a 3-way trade with Alexis. We'll take Christian. You'll take Jonathan, and Alexis can pick anyone else you want.
Alexis, you can have Camilla. All right. Is that Kerry?
My world has been rocked with the loss of Christian. In his honor, I am going to do a somewhat wild pick and select financial analyst Emily Flippin. I think for me, she fills the same nerdy vibe, decent storyteller. I actually loved her on season 45. I liked seeing the transformation she had. I think she's going to come out playing very differently this time. I liked her the whole time on her season. She is, I think, friends outside of the game with Dee, but they've both said they're coming in, playing individually. They have no problem burning each other out. They'll get dinner the next week. And I love that for a person. Yeah, so I'm going to go with Emily.
When we were reading the bios very much ahead of time and before right now, Tony was saying, I was reading through her stuff and Tony's like, she seems like the least confident one. And then I get to the section that says, who's most likely to win or what's going to happen if you win? And she's like, oh, I'm not going to win. And so I almost wonder, though, if like her intention of coming into this game to rewrite her arc and like just play a game she's proud to play might do better than some of these people who are very aggressively coming in like, I'm ready to win. So I think it's an interesting angle to take for such a big monumental season for her to just kind of claim it as like a almost like self-growth in a way. But yeah, I mean, I think her season was actually really like cool to watch. And
I bet her and Christian will end up in an alliance as well. That's what Olivia and I were predicting.
I was upset when I saw that half of the cast was going to be New Era people, but I was not upset when I saw Emily on the cast. I really loved her, and I'm happy she's back, and that's a really good pick.
Yeah, I was shocked when Emily appeared on the cast. When she finished 45, she said in an interview that she had no interest in returning. Is that what you were about to say,
That's what I was going to
Kerry?
say, yes.
Yeah. So the fact that she's even here is wild. She was someone that I definitely wanted to see come back from 45. My struggle with Emily, because I genuinely considered taking her with my inheritance pick. But the thing with Emily for me is I just don't know which version of Emily we're going to get. Because in the early section of that season, she is socially isolated on that Lulu tribe. She calls out Bruce in the first 5 minutes when they're on that boat because Bruce was technically a returning player. Now she's surrounded by returning players. This is Emily's worst nightmare. She's all these people around her head's spinning. So am I going to get the pre-merge version of Emily where she doesn't connect with people? She's kind of on the outskirts, relies on Hannah Rose going through nicotine withdrawal and quitting the game to get to her vape. That way she could survive that tribal council. Because if that doesn't happen, Emily's probably the first boot of the season. Like, am I getting that version of Emily, or am I getting the post-merge version of Emily where she's a much better social player, integrated in the majority alliance and working to kind of direct the season from there? It's a big mystery. It's a big swing, and I respect that you're willing to take it in the first round. So I like the pick.
I almost wonder if it'll be taken better to get the first version of Emily this season than it was in her previous, because she's not good at first impressions, and these are technically first impressions, but people have seen her before. They know what she's like. Because, like, I remember in her season, she kept saying, like, I'm not disliked in real life, so I'm just a little bit confused. I think that she's something that you need to, like, understand that that's who she is as a person, and people might have more of that understanding, so it might go better for her than it did in the last one, even if she is the old Emily, which it seems like she intends to be. So,
well, she also said in her whatever pre-thing how she was like, if I could change who I am, I would have done so before in my life. So I don't really think this is a situation of like, which version are you gonna get? I imagine it's just gonna be a sprinkling of her personality. And again, maybe it works better if people have the context of like, and she has some more experience articulating like, oh, I'm realizing that this isn't working out. But yeah, I thought that was interesting because it doesn't seem like she's going to try to come in and play a totally different game. She's openly like, oh, this is who I am, but I think maybe she knows how to use it.
In some of her preseason press, she said one of her biggest regrets and one of the reasons why she's coming back for this season is that she felt that she got too comfortable and too subtle in the late game. So it sounds like she might want to lean more into that chaotic pre-merge version of Emily, which at the very least will make for great television. So I'm excited to see it all play out.
Is it time for my first pick? He says slowly because he's trying not to rush his choice. There's a lot of great players on this board. There's players that I've covered in old seasons, which makes me very excited. There's also players that I've heard about, but I'm not really familiar with their game, and I'm considering taking one of those. This guy, Coach, who's played on Tocantins, Heroes and Villains, and South Pacific, he's a Dragon Slayer, apparently, according to his bio. I read his interview, and he said, Coach 4.0 will blow everyone away, which means he's failed 3 times, and he feels like he has to reinvent himself for a 4th time. So I'm not going to go with him. To be honest, I'm having a hard time choosing between Ozzy, Joe, and Sari. And I think just out of pure loyalty, I'm going to go with Sari. I'm not sure how to feel about her game, right? She's played a lot of Survivor. I don't know what her threat level is going to be like going into this, right? But she's Sari. She's like the best social player I've ever watched. She just did really well on Australia, right? 4th in Australia. She's a grandmother. She shouts out both her grandkids and her own living grandmother in one interview. That's awesome. Like, that means her grandkids have a great great grandmother who's still alive. That's got to count for something, right? So I'm going with Sari. She looks great, by the way. Some of these photos, like that they've used in the press, like I don't know what filter they put on Mike White in some of these, but he looks a little troubled. Sari looks fantastic. So I think she's going to crush it. Somebody tell me why I'm dumb or a genius.
I haven't seen all her seasons, so I don't know the full scope of her Survivor resume. But the seasons I have seen, I feel like people are very aware that she's a social threat, and they bring her along anyway. She just kind of has this magic power that, yeah, like they know she's a threat, they know she's a target, but she does well enough anyway. So hopefully this season's her season. 5th time's the charm.
This
I
is
love
it.
Sari,
It's
and
gotta
I would
be.
love to see her win. So I'm sad to not be able to choose her. So I think it was a good pick. I think she's going to be a huge threat. It's weird because I've always, I mean, she has an amazing strategic and social game, but part of me has always viewed her game as people bring her to the end because they think that she's a later problem because she doesn't do great in challenges, which isn't a bad thing, but I've always like kind of viewed it as that. But then I watched her on the Traders and it's not really the same there. And she did so good. And I'm like, okay, so it really is your social and strategic game and not just like, oh, we'll deal with that later. So I think that she has like really good potential to win. And I hope that even though she will be a big threat, people will think, well, she's played this many times and she hasn't won. So maybe I can beat her or I can take her out later if I need to. So I hope she does well.
Alexis, if you want her, we can make a trade.
I had the choice and I chose Christian, but she was my number 2.
I was just going to say, in general, I feel like it's so hard drafting this season because I feel like everyone I look at, I'm like, well, they're a big threat. I don't know if I want, like, it's like, if everyone's a threat, not that no one is, but there are other threats that you can, like, point to and, like, see them deflect.
I think Sari is a good pick. She's gone on, like, multiple reality TV shows after Survivor. Like she's been on Big Brother, and in Big Brother she got 5th, and that's more of like a marathon kind of game, and that shows that she's pretty adaptable to whatever circumstance she's in. Like everyone's saying, she has a big threat level, but I think she's going to do well, hopefully this time. So hopefully she pairs up with Ozzy this time, and they're not at like odds with each other. So.
Yeah, I think that Survivor history has taught us like 2 things about Sari. One is that she can always overcome the odds. We covered Panama over the summer, where in the pre-merge, Shane straight up walks over to her and says, "You're the next boot." Fast forward a month and Sari's at the center of her tribe calling all the shots. So she can always overcome being in a bad position when all eyes are on her. So we know that about Sari, but the other big lesson that we have on Sari's game is that production will always find a way to screw her over. When we watch Panama, she's not taken out through a normal vote. She's taken out through a fire-making challenge. And we still have a lot more of Cerie's history to cover, but that's only the beginning in terms of absurd ways that Cerie can exit the game. So I don't want to spoil too much just because I think we'll have more Cerie seasons in the future, but
We better.
it gets worse is the moral of the story.
All right. Abby?
Okay, so the way I approach this draft is very different than all the other drafts. One, I did not list out who I wanted in what order. I just had a top 3, and 1 and 2 are taken. Next one is that I asked to be last, actually, because I wanted the back-to-back picks. And 3, my overall strategy now is just to get points. I'm not trying to pick the winner. I'm just trying to get points. So, my first pick that I'm going for is Angelina, my queen. I feel like she's going to get so many confessionals. I'm actually really excited to watch her again. I'm hoping she gives us more sound bits, like Natalie, can I have your jacket? Natalie. And so she's a mom now, so hopefully she should be more like situationally aware and like actually be able to lead votes this time instead of like thinking she's leading, but she's not. So I'm actually just really excited to have Angelina back on my screen, and I want her on my draft team.
I was gonna say I'm also excited to see her back. What scared me about her was I think like pre-game, multiple people mentioned that she's like making little sparkly like goo eyes, like she's really turning on the charm pre-game. And I mean for her like it could work, like I could see it working out, but I'm scared if that like turned people off. I agree. I think she'll get you points.
I'm happy that you mentioned her becoming a mom because I feel like on David versus Goliath, it was not the best social performance for Angelina. She was kind of walking into that end game as a complete goat where anyone would beat her in the end. And for some of those contestants, they come back and I feel like they're just going to be that same type of player. But since Angelina has had this major life-changing event, I can see a world where she develops that social game and she's a way stronger player on a return. It's been a long time since the last time that she was on Survivor. I also agree with what you said in terms of confessional time. Like she is someone, regardless of when she goes out this season, you're going to get a bunch of confessional points. Whenever her tribe goes to a tribal council, assuming she's not the first boot, I think there's a chance she asks for the jacket again, solely for the bit, or another contestant offers her the jacket. I think she's on the same tribe as Q, so there's legitimately a world where Q is voted out. He takes off the Q skirt and gives it to Angelina on the spot, and I think that would make for great TV. So I considered her in the second round. Like she wasn't at the top of my board, but she was someone I would have been very happy to have on my team. So I think she's a good pick.
And now I'm going with my second pick. This person should get me a lot of points. So I'm going with Rick Devens. He was pretty chaotic his first time, and he kind of had to be because he was he had his back against the wall. I hope that doesn't happen this time, but if it does, we know what he can do. So I'm excited to see that. There's no edge of extinction to save him this time. But yeah, I'm excited to watch Rick play again. And maybe there's going to be an alliance of all the people that have been on the On Fire podcast with Jeff. So I know that he was one of them, Dee, Charlie. I feel like there was someone else too. So hopefully they can, get together.
I've never seen him play, but because of that, I was like, oh, let me watch some like interviews so I can get the gist of this guy. And I like don't know anything about him, but I liked his energy at the interview. He mentioned that he was an alternate, and just seemed like so excited to finally be back. In Christian's pregame interviews, he talked a lot about like how he thinks that the season was cast and there's like 6 different archetypes or something, and like one of them was like the narrator. He thinks he fit into that category, and Devens as well. So I think you'll get a lot more points again.
Devens is also similar to Angelina in that a lot of the cast preseason was saying that he was trying really hard to connect with people while they were out on Ponderosa. So both of these seem like a bit of higher risk picks, but I always appreciate a big swing. I'm a bit lower on Devens, I think, than the general Survivor fan base. I'll post videos and talk about who I think the like top 10 non-winners of Survivor are. And I always have people hopping in the comment section saying like, where is Devens? He was great on EOE. I think he was someone that was basically saved by a gimmick. Like if that thing doesn't exist, Devens goes out the 3rd or 4th episode of the season and we never hear from him again. But he's a great character. So regardless of how long he's on screen, he's going to fill up the airtime. I think he always does like a Kool-Aid Man impersonation. That's always fun. He does his like Rick Devens news reports since he's another news anchor from Georgia. So maybe him and Savannah could link up as well. So I think it's a solid pick. I'm happy to see Rick come back. He was one of those contestants where after season 38, we all knew he was going to return at some point. It was just a matter of time. 50 feels like a good point for him.
And I know they're high risk picks, but I do like to gamble. So there's that.
Back to me. Now, here's the trouble. Everybody I want is on Sela. And I know that's a bad strategy for fantasy, but I want Ozzy.
Go for it. Yeah.
And the fact that Abby's telling me to go for it tells me I shouldn't. And so instead,
I also think you should go for it.
Pick everyone from the same tribe. Go with your
I
gut.
think if you have a contestant who you actually know something about, I'm not sure out of the remaining players who you know. Like, if Ozzy's the best bet, like, at least you'll have something to say about Ozzy. It's good for content, Jack.
I mean, I'm genuinely eyeing Ozzy and Joe for my next couple picks. You know what? I'm going to do it because I liked his interview. I'm going with Ozzy. Locking it in. Loved him on Cook Islands. If we don't get a shot of him fishing, if he doesn't he owns a restaurant in Mexico. I looked him up because he talks about he's really into regenerative farming, which I'm also interested in. I like his vibe. I feel like he's matured. He talks about how his image is that of a, what does he say? Not a lapsed challenge beast, but he says, I've got it right here. A washed up challenge beast. And so he's going to play up his rep as a loyalist because most of his alliance members have gone on to win the game. That's a strong social game. If he can link up with Sari and they can team up and my fantasy team can go to the end and win this game, that's what's going to happen. And I'm calling my shot now.
I was reading his bio and I was like, okay, there's a large part of him that's like, here I am, I'm Ozzy, I'm playing as Ozzy again. But there were parts where I'm like, it looks like he's trying to adapt. He said something about how he'll stab people in the back if needed, and I think he needed to do that previously. So if he's willing to do that now, I think that would be good. And then I got towards the end and he was like, I hope they don't give them rice so my skills are more valued. No one cares about your fish anymore, Ozzy.
I care.
But no one does. He always thinks that people are going to keep him around because he's fishing. And people don't really care about that in the new era. So I was so upset to see him say that again because I think he relies on it too much. Like, he thinks that they're not going to take him out early because he's providing. But that's not necessarily the case.
I know. I said, brother, you are in your 40s. Stay on the beach.
Okay, but listen. His soul erupted like an emotional volcano, and once that lava of passion started flowing, nothing could stop it.
Yeah, no, that's great and all, but stay on the beach.
Maybe he will. Maybe he's going to turn it around now that he's this more mature version of Ozzy. Because he hasn't played. 34 was
around
2018.
Yeah,
around a decade ago.
2018 time frame. He said in his preseason interview that he doesn't want to be Ozzy now. He wants to be Oscar. It's a new reinvented version of himself. Like Alexis, I kind of question if he'll actually change all that much. I think there's a really good chance that we just get Cook Islands Ozzy for the 5th time in a row. But on the positive side, maybe this is a season where the Cook Islands version of Ozzy actually works. There's people on this beach who might respect him for going out and fishing for half the day instead of actually strategizing. People like Joe, people like Jonathan, people like Colby. There's a real world where those 4 guys get together and run the game because they all respect that they can catch the biggest fish, which I do think is a dystopian version of 50, but it is a possibility. There's other people on this cast who have a similar mindset as Ozzy, and that hasn't really been the case since he competed for the first time back in 2006. So there is a world where Ozzy does well. It's just not the world that I want to live in. So
it's the world I want to live in.
I know.
As the voice of the people. It's the better world.
Also, doing Clyde's analytical thing I've been learning about in this last hour. Looking at how he's placed, it seems like he kind of crashed last season he played. So maybe this is the one that puts the guards down because everyone's going to be he just thinks he's a fisherman. It didn't work last time, so maybe he can win.
I think Olivia is the true expert. Going back to 4th, Kerry.
I now feel like so gullible because I like reading everyone's interviews and they're like, I'm going to change my game this time. And I'm like, yeah, you are. So on the theme of believing, I feel like this pick is so not me, but I'm going to pick Coach. Um, sorry, Clyde. think I have such recency bias too, because another person that I think I've seen once or twice, I was watching one of his interviews today. I feel like I tend to draft the honesty and integrity players. It's not my favorite game to watch or root for. However, he said this time he's going to try to backstab. He's going to leave honesty and integrity at the door. It's going to be a little more strategic. So I really hope to see that side of Coach. That's the Coach of drafting. There is a world where he links up with Joe. I know he was talking about, I've been playing with honesty and integrity. No one liked it. This guy Joe comes around, honesty and integrity. People are all over it. So I don't know. I'm excited to see him come back. I think he's fun to have on the TV. And the thing I saw with a lot of the old era players, not to say that they're old, but they're so different. Like they've lived a life, they've got a lot more experience out in the real world, and I think they can like change their ways. So yeah, that doesn't just go for him, but a few other people I was looking at. I don't know, I think they've been away from Survivor for so long. I think it'll be cool to see them come back and hopefully do something different.
Incredible pick, Kerry. I can tell you, I did my ranking of all the 24 contestants. I have Coach at number 3. I'm really high on Coach this season. A lot of the cast before the actual game itself, they were drinking the Coach Kool-Aid. They were fully prepared to become fellow Dragon Slayers with him. And similar to Ozzy, I don't know how much Coach has changed over these years. But I think one thing that's important to keep in mind with him is that he competed a bunch of times in like a 5-season stint. He competes in seasons 18, 20, and 23. And while he is kind of the same Coach across the board, the 23 version is a little bit more of a cult leader version of Coach. But across those 3, he's the same guy that you get most of the time. It's been a large chunk of time since he's last competed. There's a real chance that now we get a more cutthroat version of Coach. And people are willing to buy into it. So he has the trust of the other contestants. It's just a matter of, will he use that trust effectively? And is he willing to cross his core morals to make it to the end of the game? I think it's a great pick. He's going to get a ton of screen time. I would not be surprised if Coach leads the casting confessionals by the end of the season. I'm jealous of the pick. He was going to be my next one if he dropped to me.
Just wondering who are 1 and 2 on your rankings, Clyde?
Number 1 was Aubrey. That's why I took her. And number 2 is still on the board.
It would be really nice of you to say it now before Tony and Olivia make their pick.
Well, I'm going to wait till they go. But what do people think about Coach?
I don't know. I've always loved him. I think it's a good pick. I also, though, am just in life a believer. I don't think people really change. I've babysat kids and you know them when they're 5 and I'm like, I know how you're going to be when you're 50. Sorry, people just don't change that much. And so I don't think that's a bad thing. But what I think is sometimes bad is when people say that they're going to change and be someone they're not, because if this game's about connecting with people and you're not being yourself, it I don't know. I don't see how you build really quick connections, not trying to be who you are. So I think he should just do his thing. And again, it could maybe work. Also, interestingly, I feel typically we say when we're looking at things, being a little bit older on a tribe can kind of be a deficit, but there's a good amount, half of his tribe is his age right now, or just under. So that's kind of an interesting perspective, I feel going into season 50 this year too.
Olivia and Tony, you're on mute and it's your turn.
I left him speechless. What can I say?
Okay. Is everyone done with Coach? We're ready to go. All right. So
do you think this is okay? Yeah.
With our second pick, we're going to continue building our team of Meat Boys, and we're going to pick Colby. I think it's a very risky pick. I think he could go out early, but I think if he makes it to the merge, he's going to connect with a lot of the other old soul type of people, including potentially the other member of our fantasy team, Jonathan. But just looking at the players in the draft, Clyde alluded to this earlier, but I think there's a lot of that breed of player who could potentially coalesce. So That's what we're hoping for with Colby, and I think he's going to get a bit of screen time just because of his iconic nature, even amongst all of these Survivor icons on this cast.
Could you distill his iconic nature into 3 words?
I always thought he was so cute.
Olivia's said Colby is so hot a bit too many times already while we've been on mute that I'm starting to get concerned. So I think the word hot is the only one that
So
that's
this is
needed.
an Olivia pick, is what
Well,
you're saying.
first of all, like,
We
Tony's
know
like,
how the dynamic
still
works
good
with this
looking,
team. We don't need to. We've done this 6 times before.
Hold on.
I'm assuming
all right?
Jonathan was the Tony pick.
Listen, I was like 4 or 5 when I was watching Survivor, okay, when Australian Outback came on. I had a major crush on Colby back then, okay?
thank you.
Fantastic pick. I mean, he sounds like he doesn't give a fuck this season based on his bio, but, you know, I'm kind of happy that Colby's back. Like, my 4-year-old self is, like, screaming. So, yeah.
Thanks.
First of all, use the word so cute. Just saying. It did evolve into
I heard
that.
hot.
But whatever.
I was gonna say, I saw he was like the first person who reached out and asked to come back for this season. He heard season 50 was announced, got in touch with the casting director. I'm sure you're being bombarded with calls. I'd like to throw my hat in the ring. And the casting director was like, we haven't even cast 49 yet. Like, you're early, dude. I think he really wants to come back. I can't remember which season I've seen him on, but I feel like it was his most recent one, which maybe didn't go that well for him. I watched it a very long time ago. So I think in keeping with the theme of, you know, doing better when you come back, yeah, I'm excited to have him back, and hopefully he does well.
Does anyone have an opinion about how you think him and Stephanie being on the same team might work or not work, given that they were on Heroes vs. Villains together?
I think they intend on working together based on what they've said going into the show. So I think that's one of the more stable alliances going into the season. Like Kerry was saying, in his last run on Heroes vs. Villains, like, Colby kind of got dog walked through most of that season. He gets manhandled by Coach in the first challenge of the season. Coach drags him across the beach, and he just kind of seemed like a washed up version of himself. So the fact that he was willing to reach out to Jeff and say, I want to compete again, I think that means a lot. It means he has that passion for the show. And from production's point of view, the most popular season of Survivor, even today, is Survivor the Australian Outback, Colby's first appearance. Like, Colby was so popular that after that season, people were naming their kids Colby. So if you're producing Survivor 50 and your production, you got to give Colby a lot of content, because there's going to be people who are going back to the show and tuning in for Colby because they watched 20 years ago. And he spent the last couple of years in Texas where he's been a welder, you know, super hot job for all the fans as well. So he's probably ripped too. So regardless of how Colby does, he'll be on the screen.
And a quick shout out, in his interview, they try to push the whole in the hands of the fans, like, you know, how the fans got to vote about buff colors. And they ask him, what are you hoping makes the cut in terms of the changes and why? And he says, I don't know what's on the list. Iconic, 10 out of 10. Head in the game. Love it. Moving on.
Okay, is it me now? No, it's Alexis.
No, it's Alexis.
No, it's me.
Sorry. The trusted second overall.
Yeah, I've been stressed out about this pick. I feel like I was so set on Christian, and then I don't really know where to go from there. However, I don't know that this is the best pick, but I'm going with the vibe of I would like to see these people, and I like them. I'm going to choose Mike White. I just love him. I'm kind of terrified he's going to get voted out early. I think that his tribe, I'm a little bit, I don't know if it's going to lean new era or old era. I think, is he in the one that's even? He might be. I don't remember. But either way, I don't know if he's going to be voted out early. He's one of the older players, which isn't always great. And he, I think, is a huge strategic threat. He did so well on his season. Honestly, I'm hoping that even though I'm afraid he'll get voted out early because being older and everything, that might help him and people might view him as less of a threat than they would normally. And also I'm hoping that people will want to keep him so that they can be on White Lotus. So positives. Also, I just love him. So
I think he's also someone out there, not that anyone returning doesn't love the game. He's here for love of the game. I'm pretty sure he was like, tell me when it's filming. I'll adjust the White Lotus schedule accordingly. Like, he's just really excited to be back in here. I think his tribe leads a bit more new era, so I'm like a little concerned for him in that way. But I mean, great character. I'm really excited to see him back on TV.
Were both of his Amazing Race runs between his last Survivor appearance and now?
Both?
It says 2-time Amazing Racer.
I didn't know he was on more than once.
I didn't know that he was on at all. That's crazy.
I didn't either, and I just chose him.
Damn, that's crazy.
Knew he did once, but I don't remember if it was before or after.
He did the Amazing Race twice before doing Survivor, I think. He did Amazing Race in 2009 and 2011, and he did it with his dad.
Yeah, all I have to say about Mike White is get him a glass of wine. I'm in.
Get him and Emily flipping a glass of wine together.
Iconic.
Cinema.
Any other thoughts on Mike, or am I good to go to my pick?
Oh, I've got something on Mike really quick, just because I've found this really fast on Wikipedia. Because he did Amazing Race with his dad was an American clergyman and author who spent 30 years working behind the scenes of the evangelical movement, ghostwriting autobiographies for televangelists like Jerry Falwell, Pat Robertson, and Billy Graham, who are all pretty vile people in terms of like equity and inclusion. After years of writing for the Christian right, he came out as gay in 1994 and devoted himself full-time to minister to the LGBT community. So pretty cool turnaround in Mike White's dad's history. Shout out Mel White.
Oh, White for Survivor 51.
He's still kicking. He could do it.
Okay. Am I good, or you got any more Mel White facts?
His husband died last year.
Okay, I'm going to go on that note. So my number 2 overall player is still here. And I talked about earlier how there is this dystopian timeline where the Beat Boys take control of the game. So I feel like I've accounted for the strategic timeline that I'm hoping for, where Aubrey and Charlie and Genevieve and those people start to run the show. But I also want to have a backup plan in case the worst case scenario plays out. And there's one contestant here who I think is the perfect bridge between the new era people and the old era people. And I think that's Joe. Now, personally, I did not enjoy watching Joe all that much on 48. And if I was the Survivor gods dictating the boot order of this season, I wouldn't mind if Joe was an earlier boot. But there's a real chance where if the new era people take control of the game, they're going to look at Joe and say, this is someone who fell on his sword for his allies, was completely loyal to them all the way through. That's someone I want to work with. He's an easy beat in the end. So there's that scenario where Joe goes deep. The other scenario is if the old school people go far and they say, oh, Joe values honor and integrity just like me. Like, the only person on this cast who I genuinely see gunning after Joe is Camilla. Like, outside of her, I think most people are going to be looking to work with him. And also Jeff and production absolutely love him. I think they brought Joe to the Grammys earlier this year. I feel like if you're constantly putting Joe on this pedestal, like he's a really nice guy. I just don't think he's the best television. But if you're constantly putting him on this pedestal, that might be an indication that he's important for the upcoming season to cover that one potential timeline.
He was there with Ozzy and Sari.
There you go.
I think he lives in LA, so I don't know if it was a proximity thing, but
It's purely
yes,
convenience.
yes, they were there. I think this was a good pick. My previous pick, I was kind of torn between Joe and Coach. But I thought, I've had Joe on my team before. Let's try something new. Yeah, I think it was a smart decision.
Those were my 2 and 3. I feel like they're very similar to each other this season.
Top comment on Survivor's post of the 3 of them at the Grammys was, who is sending Joe to all of these carpets?
I'm glad you chose Joe because I'm glad that I don't have to. I had him rated high, but I think he's a great person too. I just don't like the way that he plays, and I'm not saying he won't play well. I just don't. I'm trying to pick people that I want to see play, and I don't want to see him play. But I put him high anyway because I do think that he's set up well. So thank you for taking him so that I didn't have to next time.
So everyone's saying he played like a loyal game, and even he himself said that. Is everyone forgetting like David and Shaheen? Like,
no, but his legacy, like, everyone is going to associate him with loyalty just because I feel like that narrative has been shoved down our throats. Like, I think that's what, when people see him, they'll be like, oh yeah, this guy was loyal and honest. He has integrity. Like, so I just think they'll gravitate to him towards that. But you're right. It wasn't 100% that way.
And
on
I
his
feel like
season.
the edit was giving that to him, like, ironically, because he was like, oh, I'm such a loyal guy. I stick to my word. And then every single time he said that, he went back on his word. So I thought they were being ironic with it, but I guess everyone took it literally. But, you know, yeah. He's one of the people I'm not happy to see back, honestly. I'm sorry. Like, I thought he was great. I just didn't think he needed to come back, especially with Camilla and Kyle. We did not need all three. One or two would have been fine. Like, I'd be fine with Joe if he's back, if the other two weren't there as well. But yeah, I'm just a hater. Anyway.
No, that's fair.
That is a very fair point.
With zero Survivor 48 representation, and instead we just pulled from other seasons. I think if 48 happened at the time of 41, we might not have any representatives here. But this is the world that we live in, and I got to roll with Joe. I think he is a smart pick here. And I was hoping to get Joe and Coach on my team, but, you know, not all dreams can come true. Well, any other thoughts on Joe? Am I good to go to my next one?
Your last one, I believe.
Is this my last one? Yeah, because I got Rizzo. Oh, okay, cool. So all four people who I have are in my top 10 preseason. So that makes me feel a little bit better about this. My next contestant is someone who I could have taken with an inheritance pick. I'm going to roll with Tiffany here. And there's two things that boost up Tiffany for me. But before I hit on the positives, I want to go to the negatives because I've been adamant in saying this. I think Tiffany should not be on this cast in the first place, similar to Joe. The fact that like we have an 8th place finisher from Survivor 46 coming back is kind of ridiculous to me when Carolyn is sitting at home right now. So outside my general bitterness with Tiffany being on the cast, I do think that might play to her advantage in a weird way. My mind keeps jumping back to Survivor Game Changers. Like, I know Kerry's watching that season right now, so I feel like I can't give away too much. But that's a season where like all the big names, all the game changers are targeted early. And then you're kind of left with the scraps later in the season. And if we get a similar situation here and Cerie's going out early, then we lose Dee, then we lose Savannah and Kyle, all of like the winners and the big legacy contestants. There's a reality where we look at, you know, the board towards the end of the game and it's people like Tiffany who are running the show. So I think she's going in with probably the lowest threat level out of anyone other than maybe Jenna, just because Jenna competed on the first season before Rizzo was even born. So I think she has an incredibly low threat level. And even if the gameplay side doesn't work out for her, this might be kind of harsh, but I think the reason why Tiffany is on this cast is because Q is also there. The two of them beefed on Survivor 46. They are set up to beef again on this season, and that'll get me fantasy points. I don't necessarily believe that Tiffany will win the game, but since we're in this last stretch of the draft, I think she has enough positive attributes to warrant the pick here.
I think she's a good pick at this point. I wish her and Q were on the same starting tribe instead of her and Charlie if they were trying to go for the drama. But yeah, I think she is the most questioned person on the cast in regards to her presence. But I liked her the first time around. And yeah, hopefully like her being an underdog can carry her to a far point in the game.
I'm thrilled to have her back personality-wise. The beef in my mind overshadows her gameplay. Like, I don't really remember what she did as a contestant as much as I remember her like socially not getting along with other people.
I don't think her not getting along with other people was her fault when you have Q talking off your ear, you have Banu at your feet saying, oh my God, please don't vote me off, please don't vote me off.
Yeah.
I think she was just kind of put in a crazy situation.
I think that's totally fair. I just meant more that when I'm looking at her, I don't remember enough about her game. I liked her vibes. Like, I think if she'd been left for me, she was high on my list, but I don't have any mental idea of how she's going to play. I don't have any expectation.
And I think it's important to note that she was on that Yanu tribe, that purple tribe on 46, that was the disaster tribe of that season. And through all of that, she was the one positioned in the middle. Like, had they went to another tribal council, it was Tiffany playing between Kenzie and Q. So I do think she's proven that, like, when everything is crumbling around her, Tiffany can't put herself in a good spot. It's just a matter of maintaining those connections in the second half of the game, because that's where she loses Q, and that's where she's voted out with Idalicia in her pocket.
Okay, I remember now. Yep. The show's good, man. It's fun to remember these things and be like, wow, hey, maybe 50 is great because we get to revisit all of this. Alexis, last pick?
I'm torn. because I don't have anybody from the Purple Tribe. I don't know that I want anybody from the Purple Tribe. The people who are left were really low on my list, so I had considered switching to one of them, but I don't think I'm going to. I'm not super confident in my pick, but I think I'm gonna pick Jenna Lewis. I don't know. It would be very full circle to see her win, being from the first season. And I do think that what she said makes a lot of sense. She played so long ago that I don't even think people are going to remember her or how she played, like a lot of them, but not in the same way as like Savannah and Rizzo. Like, I don't think it'll be taken as, oh, she's a threat because I don't know how she played, because honestly, I'm not even sure that people want to admit that they don't know how she played, because you know, everyone's super fans now and everything. So I think it'll be different and not put immediate threat on her. And also, there wasn't a lot of strategy in the first season, so I have no idea how she's going to play, honestly. But I don't think she'll be a big threat. And there's a possibility she's done a lot of living in the time since she played last, so she could have thought about this a lot and play really well. And it would be cool to see her win. And it's cool to have someone from the first season. So
she calls that out, right? She says she's expecting people to consider her a token player from season 1. She also has something in here, I think it was her, about how she has to negotiate with her teenage kids to make them brush their teeth. I think that was her. I spend every second of my day negotiating $1 million contracts and screen time. I impart my own will on people for a living. Have you ever tried to manipulate a teenager into brushing their damn teeth? I will say, if your social game with your kids is weak enough that you can't get them to brush their teeth in their teenage years, red flag. Red flag.
Do you remember being a
You'd be
teenager?
surprised.
Yeah.
I remember being a teenager and brushing my teeth. Like, come
Not all
on.
of them do.
Yeah, fair enough. Have any of us seen Survivor 1? I'm sure Clyde has.
yes.
Yeah. She was also on season 8.
I already
I
covered
thought
that
she
up
was
in
just
my...
on season 1.
No, she was on season 8 also on All Stars. Her driving strategy
right.
was to get out all the winners.
Yeah, she was very anti-winner on that season, but she's kept up with the show through all the years. She stayed a fan. She's been watching it. And I don't think a lot of people are going to remember this, but she was ahead of her time strategically, even when she competed on the first season. When you get to the post-merge of that season, the opposing tribe realizes, oh, we can all work together and form an alliance. Jenna's tribe doesn't want to do that because they see it as amoral. But Jenna was the one person in her group saying, like, guys, we need to work together. If they're doing it, we can do the same thing. And she just couldn't get them on board. So she's always had that strategic knack for the game. And I'll be excited to see her compete against some more like legitimate competition all these years later. All Stars was real competition, and she actually falls like one immunity challenge short of winning it all. So I think she's a better player than what many people might remember, and they might just discard her as being an old school contestant.
All right. Tony and Olivia, penultimate pick for you guys, because obviously you get whoever's left on the garbage pile.
All right, with our final pick, because as you said, Jack, we're just getting assigned for our last one. We're going to go with Q. I think
I love Clyde's reactions.
I don't know if this rounds out our team of Meat Boys or if Q falls into his own category.
He's his own category.
But we think he'll be entertaining to watch and get some screen time. And I think that's about all we can say at this point.
Okay, I'll add. I probably think about the Q skirt like once every 4 to 6 months. It just like pops in my head. I'm like, I wonder how that's going. So I'm happy to get an update. And on I don't know if I can call this strategic. That feels like a stretch. But I know Colby is really into targeting like 49, and I feel like in my head that Q's relatively recent, but in looking at the team, he actually is a few pegs down like season-wise. And so if there becomes a strategy among some of the more senior, like historic players of let's get out the newer people, Q can actually fall into like, it's actually not me. And I don't know. So maybe he'll be strategic. I know I gave a whole speech about like you're not going to change who you are, so we can just forget I said that.
Olivia, I can guarantee you he's going to be Q.
I know it's going to be really fun, and we're going to hear about the Q skirt.
ironic that you guys drafted him. He was my off-screen pick of who would go undrafted, just because he is so chaotic to me. I love watching it on television. I think he'll get a good amount of points. Like, I think it'll be so entertaining. I just don't know how far he's going to make it.
Yeah, I agree with Kerry. I had Q on first boot watch. I think he's a contender for that. Jack, no offense. I think Camilla's a contender for that. You just have some of these contestants where 3 people come from their respective season. So there's already a target on their back. And Q just has this reputation of being chaotic. And based on what people are saying preseason, it's weird. Like, people look at Coach, who has a chaotic history, and they say, I want to be a Dragon Slayer. Like, there's aura with Coach. There's a vibe with Coach that people respect. I think Q might be a little bit too recent where he's scaring them away a bit more. Yeah, he was one contestant that I was not particularly high on, but he's probably one of my favorite characters from the new era. In the conversation for my favorite character, if Andy and Rizzo weren't there.
I was debating on picking Q, but then I remembered he said something really weird about Dee's toes. So I was like, no, he's a little too weird for me again.
It was that, and he wanted Emily out of the game because she eats pork and drinks Diet Coke. I want to know how his mind works. He just intrigues me.
I definitely want to know the inner machinations of his mind, but yeah, you guys will definitely get a lot of points. I'm very happy for you.
All right. Kerry.
So it looks like people left with Stephanie, Kyle, Vanna, and Chrissy. And with that, I'm going to take Chrissy. I was kind of between wanting her or Jenna for my last pick. Don't know a ton about either of them, but I believe Chrissy was very good at challenges when she was back on the season. I think she's been through a lot. I think she had, I don't know if it was cancer, but she had surgery, and then she went on this backpacking trip with her daughter. So I think she's had a lot of growth since the previous time she played, and now has a lot more perspective. I don't know. I'm really excited to see her play. Someone I've heard a lot about. Locking in Chrissy.
Chrissy robbed Queen due to a stupid-ass twist that is still in the game. Stupid fire making. So I'm very happy to see her back. I'm actually surprised she wants to come back, but I'm very happy that she's back, and I hope she goes far this time.
I, too, was between Jenna and Chrissy for my last one, so good pick.
The only thing about Chrissy I was kind of confused by was she says that she's intentionally does not want to win individual challenges because she's such a challenge beast. I find that to be a strange strategy.
I think she said she doesn't want to win the first one, which I think is risky, but I feel like could be a good idea, because I think that if you already have the reputation as a challenge beast, people are going to, if she makes it to the merge, they're going to be watching her and waiting for her to win that one. And if she wins it, that just verifies everything that they believe. And then if she doesn't win any of them, she's going home. So I think it could be a good strategy to try to, be like, actually, I'm not a challenge beast anymore. Don't look at me. Even if it's just for one vote, it could still sway the perception, right off the bat a little bit.
Yeah, I'm really excited to see Chrissy come back for this season. She has this reputation of being the Rob goddess, the one that was ruined by fire making. I'm still not fully bought into that theory. I think she loses the season, even if that twist doesn't exist. But one thing that's really interesting about her, and she brought this up in some of her preseason interviews, she competes on Survivor, heroes versus healers versus hustlers. And this was older age, not super old age, it's season 35, but older forms of casting where you have a lot of hot young people on the beach. And Chrissy was in her 40s at the time. And one thing that she brought up is that she just had a difficult time connecting with people due to that age gap, due to that generational gap. So I'll be excited to see, can she do a better job socially when she's with people who are closer to her age demographic? And if she decides, I want to connect with the younger person, that's what she did on her first run. She connected with Ryan, who was in his 20s. She has a Ryan substitute built into her tribe. She's got Charlie right there as someone that she could put right under her wing and go deep into the game with. So for me, I think in terms of the player quality with Chrissy, the jury is still out, but 50 will do a lot to give me more information on that.
Just to clarify, Alexis, you're right. She said that she doesn't want to win the first individual immunity, but she said she didn't want to win any reward. And that's what I got confused. Because then she said she doesn't want to also then have to make hard decisions because of reward that could cause like a social consequence as well. So in that respect, I then understand a bit more.
It's me. We have 3 left on the board, right? We're looking at Savannah, Kyle, and Stephanie LaGrossa Kendrick. Now, I don't know much about Stephanie LaGrossa Kendrick, but I know a lot about her husband because I just read his entire Wikipedia page. It's one of the meanest articles I've ever read because he was a okay pitcher in the major leagues, and a whole lot of it is about how he lacked confidence. And so his Wikipedia page is pretty brutal. For that reason, I will be taking Kyle, which rounds out the Kyle and Camilla duo. I keep them both on my roster. So when the merge happens and they have a secret alliance again, because who would expect it twice? Me. And I'll get the points for it. So I do think Kyle is a better pick than Savannah. I don't know anything about Stephanie to really say, but Kyle is going to go very quickly on that tribe unless he can make some good alliances. So
What nudged Kyle over Savannah for you? Like, they're both winners going into the season.
Savannah's had 2 weeks to eat, and she was like, I'm genuinely concerned about caloric like capability because for Rizzo and Savannah, because 2 weeks to recover from 3.5 weeks of starving, right? That doesn't seem like enough to me. And both Savannah and Rizzo, it's not like they were Joe, right? Big guy, loses some weight, but he's still a big guy. Both Savannah and Rizzo are kind of small people who got even smaller. If they have a long run, where are they going to be? I don't know. But
Well, Savannah has Ozzy to fish for her, so she's going to be okay.
that's true. And I'll
No,
get points
I
for
don't
that. There's a score multiplier in fantasy for fish caught, right? That's my pick. Abbey, last pick of the game.
All right, so I'm not saying I'll do it, but Tony and Olivia, do you guys have a preference between Stephanie and Savannah?
Ooh. Ooh, no. We just read something that's like really not good. Honestly, I don't know.
We appreciate you asking, but follow your heart and we'll take the scraps.
Well, I guess I in theory have an opinion, but again, follow your heart. I honestly think at this point, should I say it?
We'll say it after the pick.
Oh, you pick. Okay, I'm sorry. We're also blurry. You pick, and then we'll say our opinion.
So the reason why I asked, because I'm waffling between the two, because like I loved Savannah. I loved her quote unquote mean girl energy. I was here for it. Give me it again. And Stephanie, you know, she was on 3 times already. Go ahead, girl, give us nothing. You know, not really excited to see her back again. The most iconic thing for her, for me, was during the reunion show. She talked about a filet mignon pizza at a restaurant. She had like 1 minute of screen time, and that's what she brought up during the reunion. Deciding between the two, I'm gonna risk it. I'm actually gonna take Savannah. So yeah, I'm here for it. Tony, Olivia, I feel like you guys want Stephanie anyway. Am I right? No, you wanted Savannah?
No, if you want mean girl energy, I think you could read what we just found an article of from Stephanie. We just dropped in the chat.
We don't need to read it on the podcast.
Yeah, I don't know if it needs to be on the podcast, but perhaps more than mean girl energy.
Yeah, I know exactly.
Oh,
Yeah,
no.
Ooh, okay, yeah, all right. I stand by my pick. I'm picking Savannah.
Yeah, I'm happy for you. I'm happy that it's like we're just left with last licks.
For what it's worth, the article that we got that from was about her apologizing.
Yes.
But still.
Yeah. So I'm gonna pick Savannah. I said she's bringing her sweater back. She must think it's her lucky sweater, but if it's not the same one, then whatever. She just likes that same type of sweater. I'm excited to see her back. I know that she said she's gonna tell everyone that she was won season 49. Like, why hide it? I feel like that's even more sketchy if you were to hide it. Like, you know, what is she supposed to do? Yeah, she's only had 9 days to turn around, but she's already in that mindset. So she's already clocked in at the lock-in factory, you know what I mean? So she's ready to go. Picking Savannah.
I think you made the right call. That's not just because of the outside the game stuff. If you look at Savannah's tribe, like for me, when I think of Savannah, my mind jumps to the physical side of the game. She tied the women's record for most individual immunity wins. And you look at her tribe, you got Joe there, you got Ozzy. If she's going to be transparent about her game, maybe she'll go over to those guys and say, hey, you guys are challenge beasts. Well, I'm a fellow meat boy, just like the rest of you. And they can all link up. So I was scared to take her just because I think contestants are going to go after the 49 contestants outside Rizzo. But there is a world where she can make a legit run on this season. I did not expect her to fall this deep into the draft. I thought she would probably be like a last round pick, but not the very last legitimate pick of the draft.
Tony and Olivia, you're on mute if you're talking to us.
No, I just messed up my video camera.
We're struggling.
I don't think it matters.
I do see a world in which she also can get along really well with Emily.
Yeah,
okay,
I'm
do
worried
you guys
about
want to talk about your last pick then? You want to talk about
No.
I watched Heroes vs. Villains, but to be honest, I don't really remember anything about her. So maybe you guys can tell us a little bit about Stephanie from the Survivor gameplay perspective.
Ooh, but she's doing the thing Clyde talked about with like the
Crashing out.
bad. So maybe this is her time, but I'm just feeling like maybe it's not.
What do you guys think?
Yeah, let us know.
I know nothing about her, so
I know nothing about her.
All right, Clyde, it's our time
Surely
to shine.
Clyde.
Okay. Speaking strictly about the game of Survivor with Stephanie, I do think she's someone who has shown one of the most important skill sets in that she's excelled from the top and the bottom. On her first run on Survivor Plow, she's a part of one of the worst tribes in Survivor history that loses, I think, every immunity challenge. She goes into the post-merge by herself, and she's able to reintegrate herself within a new group. So there's probably going to be a disaster tribe on this season. And if that's the case for Stephanie, we know that she can survive it and make it into that next stage of the game. But she's also proven an ability to play from the top. She comes back on Survivor Guatemala, serves in that lead strategic figurehead role for most of the game. She was pretty bad socially to the point where she doesn't really beat anyone in a jury vote, but at least she was at the head of the alliance working with Rafe, who has now produced a show that I think Jack watches, but I forget the name of that show. We talked about it maybe a couple months ago. Yeah, look up Rafe Judkins. He produces a show that you like. But she works with Rafe on that season, and they basically dominate the entire post-merge. So if you're looking at Stephanie, strictly the Survivor player, she's a good physical competitor. She's in good physical shape. She can play well from the top, and she can play well from the bottom. So I think if I were to rank them based on like Survivor ability, she would probably be closer to the top of the list. My main hesitancy with her is that she's competed on some other reality shows recently. She's been on The Traitors and Snake in the Grass. And in both of those, it's been like suboptimal performances. So I just don't know if the modern version of Stephanie is as oriented towards these kinds of games. But I know I hit on a lot there. Alexis, Abbey, do you guys have anything to add?
Was it Heroes versus Villains when she was it her shoulder? She dislocated her shoulder, or was that her? Okay, yeah. So that's all I have for her.
Rafe Judkins is an executive producer on the Wheel of Time show that was canceled. Those books are very good, but the show was canceled. He was show running the Amazon adaptation of the video games God of War and left it due to creative differences. He also wrote the Uncharted movie with Tom Holland and Mark Wahlberg, which sucked.
I liked it.
Oh, never. My bad.
But that's everything for the draft. Everyone can go into the actual app and just take your inheritance picks. Jack, make sure you take the person who you actually wanted. Thank you so much for listening. We'll have coverage for Survivor 50, recapping every single episode this season. Jack and I will be on. Maybe we'll have some guests from the Fantasy League hop on at some point down the line. I'm in the process now of reaching out to some contestants to see if any of them want to talk to us as well. So I'm excited for this season. Alexis, thank you for the first overall pick. It felt nice to be in the first half of the draft. And hey, we'll see who ends up winning this season. Alexis has 3 out of 6 championships. So if anyone else wins, we'll have something new to talk about next season. Jack, any final words from you? I'm just about all good.
Stoked for 50. Thanks to our fantasy players here. Best of luck to all of you except Alexis and Clyde. I fear them the most. Well, I guess, and Abbey. Best of luck to Kerry and Tony and Olivia. The other 3 are just real threats. Excited for the season to get... Wait, when does the season start?
February 25th. Last Wednesday of the month.
So 2 weeks, 2.5 weeks. All right. Good stuff. We'll see you then.